Welcome to Kingdom Chat, everybody. We're having so much fun, man. It's like probably about an hour we are here laughing and talking, but it has been amazing just preparing for tonight. So, again, I'm Junior, one of the hosts. With my boy Caleb and Roy and our producer Miss Jeannie, and they will introduce themselves as we go along. But we're looking to talk about an amazing topic tonight. And for some of you that might be listening, it's probably something that benefit you, something that you might like. We don't know where the Lord will go in this topic. We're gonna talk about marriage and family. We are all married men, and well, Miss Jeannie is there. Lady Roy can't messed up tonight.
I know,
she's right here. Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about.
She has her own microphone, so she can stop me.
Yep. So you gotta speak the truth.
Maybe we need to have all our wives come on one day.
That would be good.
That would be good.
No,
that would be good. Yeah, we would all be sweating. Yeah. But I'm Junior, as I said before, and I serve at Canvas and different ministries in different places as well, in Tennessee as well. And again, one of the favorite things to do is to serve the gospel at Bonnaroo, ministering to hundreds or thousands of young people. It's a beautiful place to share the gospel. So, we do a lot. And one of my favorite things to do, again, is to talk about Kingdom Chat. So these guys are gonna introduce themselves and then we get right into it.
I'm Caleb. We've been together for a while. I'm also Jamaican. They are white Jamaicans, by the way. Just the further up you get, you lose the what he got. Whatever that is he's got. I don't know. Not all of us are like that. I don't know where he come from, but no, we really enjoy getting to spend time with each other and just talk about the Lord. And so we kind of were sitting around just talking and couldn't really figure out where we were going to go, but I think we feel the Lord wants to talk about family and marriage and how important that is in the kingdom, because every one of you have a task to build the kingdom, and that's got to start at home. It's where it starts. So,
well, yeah, I'm Roy Sekulich, and these guys are some of my dearest friends, and we just have a ball whenever we get together. It's just a blessing.
It should be illegal almost.
Sometimes. I tell you, if we filmed everything, it would be hilarious. Yeah. Well, I'd find it funny. But anyway, maybe nobody else would. But number one, we all love each other, but we all love the Lord too. Yeah. And marriage is such an important part of our lives. And today, there's some real mixed up ideas of what marriage is, And so I think it's a good topic for us to talk about. And so I'll let my wife introduce herself. She's hidden back there. You can't see her, but she looks nice.
I am Jeannie. I'm Roy's wife, and I am the executive producer or something.
Director,
but I
producer.
decided while y'all were talking that I want to ask a question. So we are going to establish, the Bible tells us that basically God created the family. He created marriage. But out of you three, were you Christians when you got married? Because that makes a difference in how you perceive marriage. So Roy?
Well, you and I were both Christians.
Yes.
We started dating in high school, but we were both already, committed to the Lord. I had some rough edges. There was things that the Lord wanted me to do. He wanted me to preach. I didn't want to do it, and I was kind of running from that. I wanted to serve Him, but not in the way He wanted me to serve Him. So I was kind of running from that aspect of my life, and I did run for like 11 years, and then eventually I surrendered to preach the gospel, which now I look back, what an idiot. I should have done it in the beginning, because I know now I can't think of anything better to do. And so that's one of the reasons I was so thankful when they came up with the idea of this podcast, and I invited myself in without their permission to actually put this together so that we could have a venue to talk about the Lord, because now that is the most important thing in the world to me, is talking about Jesus and sharing Him. And in marriage, it's so important. I think that being a Christian in marriage for me has made it so much stronger, because
and God's always been the center,
yes,
the head, whereas it's not always that way in different other marriages. Like if you're yoked to someone unequally or whatever. Okay, Junior.
Yes, I was married. I got married when I was a Christian. I've actually met my wife on the mission field, just serving the gospel.
Was it a church date?
A church date.
Just turns out to be. Okay, yes. So I was saying that I met my wife on the mission field, just serving the gospel, and it's it's a beautiful feeling. And my boy Caleb was like, "It's a Christian, it's a church." Yes, it turns out to be, and I'm glad.
Yeah. So I met my wife online. I did.
Modern man.
I was a Christian. She was a Christian, but we weren't living for the Lord. So we had already established a faith, and I think that also that it was that root in me that kept me from going to different avenues of types of women that would. I have expectations for myself and for what I would want, and even in my mess, I didn't go back on that. When I was really proud of that. There's a reason that I know Brenda was the only woman I've ever taken home to my mom. She was the only one that's ever met my mom. I would never bring any of these other women around her. So there were others, but Brenda was the one I knew immediately.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got married?
24.
How old were you, Junior?
25, I believe.
Roy?
Gosh, I don't know. How old
You were
was I?
21.
So I was 21. I know, it's a long time ago. It's like 36 years ago.
20. But we
Had to
got
do the
married in
math.
July.
All of us married in our
Yeah.
early 20s. Huh?
In our early 20s. And at the time, Roy had been in the military. I had lived away in college. We were adults. But looking back now, we were kids.
My goodness.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like so much we didn't know about marriage, about different things. But, like I said, the one thing that was always true, even when we made mistakes and didn't handle things right, was God was always the most important thing. God was always first.
Yeah.
He was always first in our family.
What's the proverb? Jeannie, train your children up in the way they should go. When they grow, they won't depart
from it. Yeah.
So that's I lived that. Like, I grew up in church. My grandfather was a Church of Christ pastor. We didn't live near him, so we did go visit often, and every time we went, he would always have me come up and read a scripture or something. I was a kid, and I was just like, "Why are you making me do this?" But I'm so thankful for those times. And then my youth growing up, my best friends got me to go to church. They invited me to go. I wanted to hang out with the boys, and it turned out to be an awesome thing. I ended up getting saved at a youth retreat one night, but all that being said, as an adult, I, went my own way. I started working, started partying, started doing things I shouldn't do.
Yeah, you start making your own money so you can spend it as you want.
Yeah, that too. And just really, prodigal son, you could say, still knew the Lord. They didn't really talk to him. We didn't have much of a relationship then. But, and I think I know why we're talking about this now, meeting my wife, she was the first sign to me that God was real.
Yeah.
Even after all the things that I went through, and I didn't realize it at the moment, but I had been through some really dark times. I almost killed myself over a woman.
Oh, no.
And I did not realize how lonely, you can be. And we talked about loneliness earlier, and I really relate to that. I really understood that. I felt like the only person in the world, and how could God send me someone so beautiful, so kind, so thoughtful, so caring, so loving, when all I've done is live like hell for the last several years. I didn't even talk to my family for a few years. I went off, and I wasn't like super strong. I always kind of like gave myself credit. Well, you're not a crackhead, it could be worse, but I was still doing that stuff. Doing things I shouldn't have been doing, trying to live right. And I felt like I was still a good example to the crap that I was in, because I was still trying to pull people out just because I was a good person, but I was living like crap. And so meeting my wife, it changed my life. She changed my life. And I could never wrap my head around, why would God do this to me? Why would he allow me to have something so good when all I've had the last so many years was death? Literally death. I've seen people die, seen people get shot, was there when people were all the worst things you could think of. I could have been the one doing that. In fact, I'll be very vulnerable. I've never even told hardly anybody this. There was a time where I was running in my mess, and I'm I've always been raised up on loyalty. Loyalty was so important.
Yeah.
to me, and being loyal to your people, to your friends, to your family, to your cause, to whatever it is, to a fault, to where I remember going and kicking in a door that didn't even have anything to do with me. It was something for a friend, and putting a gun in the face of somebody who didn't have anything to do. It was the wrong house. We weren't even in the right house. It was awful, and that haunted me. That haunted me because I terrorized somebody over something that had nothing to do with me, and so my life had been just this story of drugs and failure and all these things that how could you even give me anything good? I don't deserve anything good. Why would you give me anything good? And my wife was the climax to the story of my life where things are going to turn around. And ever since then, it has turned around. It doesn't mean it was great right when it happened. She had every reason to not stay with me, and I wouldn't have blamed her. And she had some things too that I will let her tell, that she thought that I wouldn't want to be with her for. But the Lord knew what He was doing, and in the unlikeliest of places online, I'd already been catfished once. I'd say that too. And that ain't fun either.
That's a dude.
No, it wasn't a dude. It wasn't a dude. Okay. It was not a dude. It was not a dude. But it was a very dishonest person.
Sorry, that's where my brain went.
I mean, I would have done it to you. Not a dude. But so I was very skeptical about everything in my life. Everything was test and see. I don't believe anything I see. I need to know for sure. And so the Lord bringing her in my life, and it brought my heart back to Him.
Amen. Amen. And you said, just talking about you, I just want to share a scripture. I haven't looked it up, but it's talk about he who findeth. Yeah. You said he that findeth a wife, findeth a good thing, and obtain favor with the Lord. So that just had to your story that why would He give you someone like that? You find it a wife and it's a good thing. But I was looking up Genesis chapter 2, and I want to read it. And this is the basis and the foundation of marriage, because it was done by God. And it says, therefore, and this is after the Lord just made the woman, put Adam to sleep, and Adam said, this is the bone of my bone. He fashioned her, brought her to Adam, and now this is God giving His stamp of authority. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And that's the basis of marriage. We become one. And I thought about it that there was no parents there yet. There was just Adam and Eve, and God has to put this in, and I'm like, wow, there's no mom, there's no dad, but He said, a man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife.
I've seen many marriages ruined by an in-law, a mother-in-law, or a father-in-law.
I think that is why this statement is so, because they wasn't there yet,
And it's if you're married to a good person and things are well, don't let your mom or your dad sway you from that. That's ridiculous. And it happens all the time.
It's also Western culture, because it's not like that everywhere. A lot of places there are like whole family homes. Well, and mainly because they have to, because they can't really afford for everybody to live elsewhere. So you get along or don't or die,
And one of the things in our society I see where there's today, and this hasn't always been true, there's this fantasy that back in the old days, women were just mistreated by men. Listen, women have ruled men since the beginning of time. And that's the truth of it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that in a relationship, men have and women have always been partners with one another. Men definitely need to learn how to love their wives. Jesus says that we're supposed to love our wives the way that Christ loved the church and gave Himself for it. That means our love for our families and our wives should be sacrificial.
Well, I'll tell you a great example of that, if people don't believe it, is way in Genesis when Jacob had two wives, Rachel and Leah, and they would decide who got to sleep with Jacob that night, who he was going to be with. They would trade. I mean, we just see several verses that say that. So to say that they didn't have any authority, it's not true. It's I think that their society was different because we didn't have factories and all that. It was an agricultural society.
Yeah.
And so women did typically stay home, but that meant that their husbands gave them authority over the home.
Yeah.
You know, other decisions, since he was out doing the agriculture, whatever it was, sheep, planting, whatever, you know, he made those decisions, which is sort of different than the way we do it today. But women, I agree with you for the most part.
Yeah.
You can look back into David. You tell me Bathsheba didn't have some influence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she didn't know where the king's dwelling was?
Yeah.
And we always give David the blame, and I blame him too, but you know, that
Yeah,
thing,
she had blame too.
Yeah.
she put that thing out there on the roof and was like, hey,
You should put that thing out there.
Yeah.
I'm
But
just
I
saying.
think, yeah, like how time and era change, but the principles remain the same.
What I wanted to say.
Yeah, the principles remain the same.
Yes.
And I truly believe, like, when it comes on to marriage, it's a 50-50 with the husband and the wife.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah, because I really believe that the Lord talk about women to submit to their husband, and he did say husband to love their wife. And when you look at it, loving your wife is basically submitting to your
is.
wife.
Well,
and
it-
submitting to your husband is basically loving your
Yes,
husband.
my favorite
You know?
scripture is before it says that. I think it's Ephesians. Before it says what you just said, the verse before that says that you're supposed to submit one to another.
Right.
And then
Yep.
it goes into
Well, that's the
Detail
thing.
it
Our
out.
society today teaches women what they should be getting from a man. Tells men what they should be giving to a woman, but it does not tell women what they should be giving to their husbands.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we have unsuccessful marriages today.
Yeah.
On top of that, let's add the fact that everybody's having sex with everybody like it's just going to a candy store. I mean, and I'm sorry, that's just wrong, and it's not the right way to live. It's psychologically, even if you weren't a Christian, when you look at the psychology of sleeping with so many different people, it is not well for your soul.
Yeah,
You might
soul
have.
ties. You're bringing in soul ties.
It is
on all of those
so
things.
bad
It's
for
very
you.
far.
And then what happens is, then when you are in a relationship with somebody and you get married to them and you're having sex with them, it's no different than the 15 other people you had sex with. There's no bonding there.
Yeah.
You know, and that is not healthy for anybody mentally. It's not. And so it makes the marriage seem just kind of like we signed a piece of paper.
Yeah.
We had an event.
It's way
Yeah.
more.
But
It took the value off marriage.
Yeah, it takes the
Yeah.
value off of it, and sex is a big part of it. I mean, you can't.
Well, people take for
go that
granted what
way.
they're-
That's true.
You're making a covenant before God that you are going to take this person, for better or for worse, for signal report,
Yeah.
all the things. But it's like, are they even saying that anymore? No. Like, goodness gracious. But then I tell you what I've seen a lot lately. I've seen a lot of husbands that demand their wives to submit to them, and they ain't living godly lives.
Yeah.
They're not living as spiritual leaders. They're not even living as a good leader in their house.
it's like Roy has always said, you don't have to demand submission if he is treating her the way that God wants
Yeah,
her
it's
to be
not hard
treated.
to-
It's
Yeah.
easy to do. And the thing is when it says that doesn't mean that the husband makes all the decisions.
right.
Roy and I have discussed every decision that we've
Yeah.
ever made. I mean, he has never bought anything, maybe a beef jerky, but
Still holds it against me.
Roy would never go out and buy a car
No.
or a house
Yeah.
or plan a trip, and neither would I. That's a big monetary decision.
Yes.
Affects the family.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I'll buy groceries, but even still, it's within the idea that we have this budget that we both agreed on. And
Yep.
I see relationships all the time, both the man and the woman, they just are out buying whatever they want,
And it
and
shouldn't be.
it just causes strife.
Again, in Genesis, it's talk about when God looked at all that was happening, and He said, "It's not good for a man to be alone." And and man in itself, like, I know there was just Adam, but looking back now, about male and female, and He did call them male and female. He did call them man, whether you're a woman or you're a man. And you look at it today. It's really not good for someone to be alone, like to make a decision. Like if you are married and if you are in a relationship, it should never be where, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm gonna do. It's two-person. And that is why God says, it's not good for a man to be alone, because in Jamaica we say 2 heads better than one. Like, as we need.
Say that in America too.
Yeah. So we need, when we are in a relationship and a covenant with each other, we need both parties to come together to make a proper decision.
Yeah, because men and women look at things differently. And so it's good to have input from both. Because women are typically more emotional. We look at things more emotionally. We look at things, how they're going to affect the kids. Men are more... I don't even know the word, less emotional. They're looking more...
It's more factual.
Yeah,
more
but sometimes you need that emotion to help you in that decision-making process.
And sometimes you need to be separated from the emotion to make the right decision. So we complement one another, not hurt one another. With women, everything in their day is connected to everything else. To men, everything's very compartmentalized. This is this event, this is that event. They're not tied together. And sometimes they need to realize, they are tied together. And sometimes the wife needs to realize, you need to separate yourself from that. This is not affecting this. They're separate. We complement one another.
That's why it makes time to talk. To talk things out. And it's okay to talk about... I think when we were so young when we got married that... One of the things when Roy and I counsel with people that are getting married, one of the things we say is, what are your expectations from marriage? The problem is a lot of people get married and that, they believe that the man's always going to fill their cart with gas. The man's going to do this. The man's going to do that. And the woman's always going to do, XYZ, always going to have breakfast every day or whatever. But if the woman doesn't know that's the expectation, or if the man doesn't know that's the expectation, that's where conflict comes in.
Yes.
And you could just say, well, that's not the way my family did it. This is what I expected. And that goes to what Junior said about the two becoming one. The only way you can do that is you need to share everything.
Yeah, and as Roy talk about, we complement each other. Like, marriage supposed to based off values. Like, you would value your spouse, and I believe one of the things that makes marriage works beautifully is openness and understanding, and when you value someone, and when you compliment someone, when you are open, when you are transparent, because you look at it and you think that, as Miss Jeannie was saying, the woman thinks that, the man is gonna do all of that, and the woman and the man think, she's gonna do all of that. Like, and some of the times we looked at a culture, our marriage in a particular culture, or we look at marriage sometime in a movie, and we see, we look at marriage maybe in a selfish relationship, and we see we are like, men would buy woman all these gifts, and we want that when we become married, or a woman would do this much for a man, and we want that when we become married. But I found out in being married it's gonna be 21 years in 2 weeks time from now. I'm getting there. And but I've learned so important is that I can't be Roy and Jeannie. Or I can't be Caleb and Brenda, and you can't be me, and you can't be me, because I've learned that we are all of different personality. And so one of the greatest thing I found out, if I can understand my wife, and if my wife can understand me, and if I can compliment her and she can compliment me, and if I can value her, there are some things that I'm not going to allow her to do as a man, as a husband, and as a father. And there are some things she's not going to want me to do as a wife, a mother, and a woman. And then there are things that she would have to do, and then there are things that I have to do. It's not like a woman is piece of a meat and we only use her for housework or for sexual pleasures, and that's what she's created for, to bring babies and to just work. No, they are of value.
Absolutely.
And they should be valued much highly. And same thing with the man, It's not piece of meat just the same for a sexual pleasure for a woman. They are to be valued too. And that's what makes marriage work. I found out that I can look at a person's marriage and think that's how mine gonna be. Because every single day I'm learning what marriage is by being by being subjected to my wife, to my children, to a plan.
Yeah.
Or to a discussion. I'm learning that because that can break your marriage up and rip it apart.
Yeah.
You can live as beautiful as you can live today, and tomorrow there's a decision that needs to be made,
Yeah.
and you screwed it up, and it can cost you your marriage. You know, because you dishonor one, and it doesn't have to mean that you go out there and commit adultery or anything like that. It can just mean the enemy just look for a simple crack.
Yeah.
And you give that to him, and he walk right in, and there goes your marriage. You know.
I'll pause it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Junior, because each one of us are individuals, so that means our marriages are going to look differently because when you become one flesh, that means your two people now are different. They're original compared to other people.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is so important in marriage, both from the husband and the wife, and one of the things I've always appreciated about my wife is that, you know, we might joke around and stuff like that, but she does not disrespect me in front of other people. She does not, and I can aggravate the heck out of that woman, but she doesn't talk bad about me in public, you know.
Yes.
And
Just at home.
Just at home. and vigorously. And sometimes the girls join in. But
Family affair.
sometimes Stephen even takes her side, which I'm like, hey, boy.
He don't want to be on her wrong side.
Yeah, really. He's like, she cooks food. You be quiet. You know. But the thing is that be respectful of one another in public. You know,
Yeah.
if you put your wife down to somebody in public because you're aggravated with something about her, or you put your husband down in public, you will break the ability for you to have a tight relationship.
Yeah.
And what is wrong with you to treat anybody like
That's
that?
not how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But, you know, with that being said, nobody in this world can hurt me like my wife.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree.
She holds the keys, and she could do that in a heartbeat if she wanted to. I could be a puddle, but she has that respect that she would never do that in front of other people. And when you get to arguing and doing all that in front, especially in the church, it happens in the church.
Oh, yeah.
It looks really bad on you as leaders too. But you know, Junior said some really good things about like not letting even a crack into your spiritual or marriage integrity. And there's so many ways that we let that happen. The first way that we have to combat that is we have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
We have to. You have to continue because it's so easy. Every one of us in here are busy. We all work full-time jobs and we all do ministry on the side. Jenny's job is ministry, so she never gets a break. And so like it's so easy for us to get lost in what we do and then get home and feed the kids and finally get clothes going and get things ready, and then the next day is already here before you know it. So something I have learned from my peers and from people I've been around, I always try to learn from other people's mistakes. I don't want to make them my own if I don't have to. But as we make dedicated time every night for me and her talk every night, and the kids, because the kids want to be on top of us all day, every day. They don't want to miss a moment. They think if something happens on my phone, what am I missing? Like, go upstairs, go to your room, have fun with your sister. We need to have some mom and dad talk time. We just need to talk, and sometimes we don't even talk much. Sometimes we're just having some alone time, just to be together. And so we also regularly date. We still date. I've been married for 10 years. We still date each other. It's important because we're individuals. And how am I going to know what's on her heart, what's on her mind? Because I tell you right now, I sure can't read her mind. She knows that. I tell her all the time. Oh, no, she don't. She knows. I said, babe, you just tell me. If there's anything that I'm not doing, you want me just please just tell me.
That's what Roy says too.
Yeah.
Just tell me. I don't know.
Just tell me. And don't make me guess. I'll go the wrong way every time.
Yeah, man, you said something that made me laugh when you talk about your kids, man. I remember Raquel, we were having this conversation, and Chelsea, she's in her room, and she didn't hear what we said good, and she come around because I was in the bathroom, Raquel was in the bedroom, and we were just talking, and her room is done. She comes in and she said, What are you talking about? And Raquel is like, what? Go to your room. She's like, no, ma'am, tell me and do not lie to me. And I'm like, and I'm like, so I call out both my mom and Raquel mom name. I'm like, I said to her, okay, Madge and Inez, you must be her mom, you know, and that's her, you know.
So funny.
That's
funny.
just Chelsea. And so when you say that about your kids, I laugh.
You know,
a lot of times we would have in a conversation and she comes in the midst of it. And I'm like, okay, Miss Madge. Or, okay, Inez.
But we're going to have all kinds of, opportunities for the enemy to come in and separate any kind of unity we have. But especially as men, I'll just be, you very rarely see me hug a female at church by myself or any of that. I just stay, just be smart. Be smart. Don't put yourself in a position where you would even don't give the devil a foothold.
Yeah, that's right. And you're at work. You don't be flirting with people you work with. The heck's wrong with you? Yeah. Men and women. I have known men who are in the church who get that phone boy and start flirting with some woman at work because she's good looking. Man, what in the heck's wrong with you? Yeah. Listen, I've always believed the adage
that's not loving your wife.
No,
the way
it's not even loving yourself. I mean, and I always feel like my whole adage of life is that I need to ride out on the horse I rode in on. I need to stay with the woman that I made. For me, Jeannie was literally my dream girl. We had she was in the top 10 girls in school that every guy wanted to be with, and I'm telling you, and to this day, I'm still like, yeah. But I know it was all Jesus, man.
Had to be.
And it had to be. He said, it was good. Had to be answered prayer. Luckily, Jeannie wasn't praying as hard as I was.
We see that.
But
well, and I'll tell you something else, and this is for people that are not married yet. One of the reasons we've had lots of things thrown at us in life, but made it easier is we knew before we got married what we believed.
Yeah.
We knew how we wanted to raise our kids.
Yeah.
We knew how we wanted to discipline our kids. We had already discussed all of that while we were dating. And so there wasn't that many surprises.
Yeah.
And we had also made the commitment that we believe that God ordained marriage. And we were both faithful to him, so that even when Roy was wrong, we weren't allowed. Now, anytime we had an argument, we were never to say we're getting a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
Because Roy says, once you say that, it's out there.
Yeah. I told her,
he said, we are committed.
I said, that word is not legal in this house. We are not to say the word divorce. We're going to have fights. And, man, we had some good ones. Now we're too old. Now we ain't got enough energy to fight. Yeah. But we was young, man. We had some good old fights. It's always over something stupid. I was always right. She was wrong. But it was always over something stupid.
Okay. I was right.
Yeah. But
don't fight now.
Yeah.
And it was. We never argued over like big money purchases, homes. Yeah. It was always like, this is where the waffle iron goes.
The simple thing.
How come you don't? How come you didn't? Why didn't you put the hammer back?
And it was just out of proportion.
Minor things.
And you're gonna
argue over water. Water. Simple as water. Trust me, not kidding.
No, and you do. And the thing is that part of it, some of it, is you got this aggravations in life. You got this stuff pent up. And it's just this little thing that sets you off, right? And you can ruin your life over something stupid and simple like that.
That's the truth.
And Satan likes to get a foothold. What I've discovered over the years now, if you don't believe in demons, demonic influence, stuff like that, that's on you. I believe in it.
Oh,
there are so many times they'll whisper in my ear, real. She said this, but she really meant this. And then I start fuming over it. I start having a fight with her, and she ain't even in the room. You know what I'm saying? Because some demonic is trying to convince me to be angry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the minute I do see her, I'm ready to raw out at it. It's harder for them. They do it to me some still now, but it's harder for them now because I'm too lazy. I'm like, it ain't worth fighting for. You know what I'm saying?
You see, the long term. Yeah. And I'm glad that you guys brought that up as well, because like I look back in like some years ago when me and Raquel, we would fight and we would be mad at each other. And you said something, and I want to throw it out as well. You never disrespect each other. Mm-hmm. Like in all the years of being married for 21 years and having fights for 21 years, we have never disrespected each other. We have never called each other's name. We had never passed the boundary line with each other, and to say that, like, those are things when you wait it out. Like a lot of person have serious fights, and so if it's not abuse or adultery, stay, work it out, because you look back now and we laugh at those things. It doesn't even matter anymore. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I said to Raquel, I said, man, we haven't fighted in a long time. Can we fight? And we just we just make up some stories. I'm not kidding you, for real.
You just want to get it out of the way.
I get to the place where it's like we have fights just the same, but because we are so mature now, it's one of the most amazing things, making up, getting the fight out the way. You know, like, can we do this tomorrow?
Well, and
sounds like a country song.
And if you know something is going to make you fight. So the first year we were married, we bought a house, and we decided we were going to put up wallpaper in the hall.
That should not have ever
and we
happened.
almost got a divorce.
You almost had to call 911.
So we're just like, from now
cannot put that
on,
wallpaper
I just
together.
always called my friend Tammy for the next several years to help me, because we do not speak the same language.
And
when
I
it
just sit
comes
there very confident, no matter what's going on, say it looks perfect.
Yeah, it looks great. And but we realized that we cannot
There's
work
limitations.
together doing that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's been other things through the years. It's like, you know, and I just think it's so funny. Some people are like, well, that's not right. No, you realize what causes conflict in your relationship,
mature enough to
and then you
avoid it.
find a way to not do that. And what a minor thing. I hate wallpaper now, but what a minor thing. You know what I'm saying? He could do other things, but it's just because we measure differently. I'll say up, and he thinks that I mean down. He says down, I think he means up. You know, that kind of thing.
I say put glue on it. She puts water on it. Yeah, it's just all kinds of crazy things happen. You know,
Conflict teaches you so much in marriage, and it teaches you so much in relationship with friends and communities as well, and even in the church. Like conflict, we learn so much, and I've learned this too. You learn of each other's character too during conflict, and you learn what each other's like. You learn what each other's don't like.
Here's the thing.
All those things.
Conflict does not mean hate.
No.
Right.
No.
Conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict, in fact, in all the training that I've been through, being a mediator in conflict resolution, training is never really, or conflict is never really a bad thing. We make it a bad thing because we assume the worst from the other party.
Right.
So when we let's flip that. Let's assume the best. Let's assume that our partner meant the best, right? Let's go at it from a different perspective, and let's go back to the beginning. Let's keep this from ever happening by not being unequally yoked to somebody.
Yeah.
Let's keep out of therapy from a marriage that God never ordained. Let's keep out of abuse from ever happening. And the way I'm training my girls and teaching them is I want them to know so well what love is that when they see love wrong, they run the other way 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
Like,
They have to know
that's
what
what I
it's
want
like.
them to know.
Yeah.
And so, so it's not like we're helpless here. Let's set yourself some goals. Know what you want. Talk to the Lord about it, and don't go put yourself in a position. Don't be Captain Save-A-Ho.
yeah.
You know what? I mean, it's not our job. It's not our job. So I know so many people in the faith that are dating people that aren't. And it's their thought, it's their belief that, well, I can change them. I can change them.
That's an excuse to ignore the Bible.
Exactly.
The Bible says, "Do not be unevenly yoked with non-believers," and it's not because God hates non-believers. It's not the case at all.
It's not about
It's
them.
because we always know the Bible says, you know, when they used to yoke oxen, you have this big old wooden thing that they would be tied together, and if you put a weak one and a strong one together, the weak one does not become stronger.
Right.
You make the strong one
It's
become
still
weak.
weaker.
Yeah. It's the same thing with faith. If you have somebody no faith, weak, and somebody who's strong in the faith, and you put them together, the weak person will always drag the strong one down because they can't carry both. We're not meant to carry that load ourselves. You can't do it.
Right.
I've known so many people like that. That well, I'm going to win, Lord. I have seen it happen where they then
It is
that person
possible.
here, Lord. But you ought to be still saying, God, I'm sorry I did it that way because you did disobey Him. His grace sometimes is still sufficient, but it is not a good plan to go seeking somebody who is not saved when you are saved, because you are leading yourself down a possible path of destruction. And that goes back to the whole edict of the Bible. Jesus Christ says that you need to love me more than mother, father, husband, wife.
Yes.
If you are a woman who is saved and you love Jesus, if you find a man who truly loves God, I'm not talking about religious, I'm talking about loves Jesus Christ, then he's going to strive to do right act right, and then he will be right.
Yeah.
If you find anything else,
exactly
you're gonna have the wrong person. Right. If he loves you more than he loves God, then that is backwards and it's wrong. Problem. If you love him more than you love Jesus, that means it's backwards. Jesus needs to be to focus on your life, because there's not one thing in this book, there's not one thing in my relationship with Jesus Christ that does anything but help my marriage.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's not a thing about living for Jesus that doesn't make me a better parent.
Right. Yes.
And hurts my children. Loving him first is more important than anything else in the world.
With that, we got people who are fresh out of awful situations. We have people who are causing awful situations. We have people who are mentally tormented. We have people who are physically abused and not well. They're not well here in their heart. And so what I teach a lot of young men, and I have a story about this too, don't go trying to find somebody until you're happy with yourself.
Yeah.
And the only time I've ever been happy with myself was when I was with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so when I start there, when I get rid of all those things and go back to the foundation of who he created me to be and dwell with him, good things always happen. I have a good friend of mine. I work with, a guy I hold a lot of respect for. He's a great looking dude. He's smart. He's strong. He's a total catch for any girl. Right? And he's lived like I have. He's done all he's wanted to do. He's had all the women. He's done drugs, all the things. He changed. I mean, I'll never forget. It brought me down, because I've talked with them so many times about how I pray often for the Lord to send me some help at work, because it's such a dark place and it's so hard for me to walk into. The Lord sent this guy to me years ago. We've known each other for years. Great kid. I say kid. He's a man now. But last year he came up to me. I seen him. He said, "Man," and he looked different. And he said, "I got baptized." I was just, yes. And so ever since he started, and he really had a rough ride. His mom passed away. A lot of things happened. And he stripped everything down and he pursued the Lord. And the last time I saw him this weekend at work, I haven't seen him probably 6 or 7 months or so. He said, "Man, I found a girl at church. She loves the Lord. She's never known anything but Jesus. Her family loves me." I said, "Do you see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? When you get down to the bare bones of your faith and make it all about Jesus, good things happen every single time. And then God-ordained things can happen when we're living in His will. And now, you know, they've been dating for some time. He's already telling me, he said, "Man, I think she's the one." And so it made my heart, it encouraged me so much.
Yeah.
The funny thing, the best thing about this story, this was Sunday when he told me this. Earlier in the week, I wrote it. We have a mixer that's broken, and they've gutted it out, and they're working on it. And so, where I work is a flour mill, pretty much. There's flour floating everywhere, so there's dust in this mixer bowl. I wrote a scripture in there. I wrote Numbers 6:24 because. I wrote it for me because I want to speak blessings instead of curses when I walk into this place. Sometimes I need a reminder. Instead of saying, "I can't stand this and do these people," I said, "The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. Shine His face upon you." And Sunday at service, you know, I was at work. They sang the blessing for the altar call. I had no idea. And then Logan. Oh, I didn't mean to say his name. He came up, and I got to tell him about that. I said, "Look, man, you've been faithful. The Lord is loving on you. He's giving you something." And I told him about my wife and getting to meet her and what it did for me. And I said, "Look what He's doing. The Lord bless you." And he turned in and looked at it. And this guy is spending time reading the Word on break. It's just great to see the transformation. It really encouraged me. But men, women, do the same thing. Get rid of all those things.
You know, it's hard to argue with anyone, but especially your spouse when you're praying for them and praying with them. I mean, we've experienced that.
Listen, I have been mad at Jenny, like we're mad, and I'm over there praying, "Lord, I need you to help me, and I need you to help her, and you need to teach her why she's wrong." You know, I'm just laying out the Lord like, "Oh, but you did this, and you did that." You know,
He's done that to me too.
And I'll be like, okay, but let's not forget what you did, Lord. You know, and because God is part of every part of my life. You know what I'm saying? And so, there's no reason not to talk to him about it. I'm going through it, you know, and you learn over time that like you said, be respectful to one another. Now, you said you never called your wife names. You never called you. Me and Jeannie have called each other names. You got to realize, me and Jeannie have a very high tolerance for such things. We're both so mean.
Well, and I think it's coming from the 80s. You know, we just called it like we saw it. You know, if you were being dumb. That's dumb. Why are you doing that?
That's right. Yeah, trust me, my wife has no tolerance. So anyway. But so I don't know. It works for us. It works for Gigi.
She looks happy. That's why everybody thinks she's so happy all the time. Here comes home, take it out on you.
Yeah, she just comes home, beats me up.
Yeah, he's abused.
Abused. I'm mistreated.
I'm not abused.
It's my stress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here, go ahead and put the face on him.
But it works for us, and we've been married 36 years. I mean, we just has there been hard times? Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, life's been rough sometimes, and sometimes it's been our fault. Sometimes it's just life in general. Life can be, man, it can throw some stuff at you where, you know, when you're so beat up, you don't have time to be nice to one another.
Yeah,
I don't have enough energy to be nice to her, and she don't have the energy to be nice to me, and then you both feel it, you know. Just be realistic, man. If you're going through these things, you know, it's affecting you. Well, it's affecting them too. You know, and I've never felt like, and I've seen couples do this too, where one couple will feel like their job and whatever they're doing in life is harder than what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous, man. Everybody struggles with everything they do, whatever job they have. Listen, the reason why people have to pay you to go to work is because it's not fun. If it was fun, I would pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be paid to go there. And if your wife is staying at home and she's taking care of the family, that's work that normally people have to pay for. You have to pay somebody to take care of your kids. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. And she's doing it. That is a job. And I do not begrudge her at all. And I don't think, you know, I'm better than this or that. If your spouse is home taking care of the family, God bless them. Our homes require, every one of us wish we had a maid. Yeah. And a butler to help us. That's why rich people pay people like that, is because it's so helpful in the home.
A cook and a nanny and a chauffeur.
Well, she's hired a whole staff. And so, but the thing is because it's so needful to have somebody take care of the home. Yeah. And so the ideal that listen, that's absolutely ridiculous. Be respectful of what each one contributes and don't think yours is more than theirs. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And I want to throw something out as well. Just hearing Caleb talk about his friend, and I know that for me, I was in a situation like that when I got saved. I didn't want to date anybody. I didn't want, and friends used to say, "Man, you need to date somebody," and I'm like, "No." Because all I want was the Lord, and I just want to be with the Lord, and I want to go everywhere I can go to share the gospel. I'm always going places to share the gospel, and in doing that, that's where I find my wife. But I never want to date, and I've never dated anybody. The first person I dated was my wife, and I've known her for like 2 years before we dated. Or probably about that time before we even start dating, because we were friends. The moment we get close, like 6 months, and we were married, we're done. You know, we ain't gonna beat around the bush, because you know we get it over with. You know, but I want to throw this out to maybe someone you're not watching, and this is for male and female. This is something I've always said to single people. Be valuable, but don't be vulnerable. And let me explain that. Make yourself presentable. Set yourself at a high standard of value, but don't make yourself vulnerable that everyone that comes along just see you like, they can easily walk through that door, or, you know, hold yourself at high standard, knowing that if the right man, or if you're a male and the right woman come along, or female and the right man come along, you know, present yourself well, live that standard, but don't throw yourself out there. You know, take time to know the person. Like, I've known Raquel for over 2 years, and we have been chit chat. We were a prayer partner. We were all of that together, serving in the same field and all of that. You know, but don't just push someone away because that might be the right person God is sending. But don't just take someone in because that might be the wrong person the enemy is sending. So take time to hold yourself at a high standard, but don't be vulnerable because you are single. You know, but take time.
Don't let your loneliness lead you to
right. Yeah. You know, and it does work, because if you spend time to know someone, once you get to know them, and once God says this is it, you don't have to wait 5-6 years to do it, to tie the knot either. Once He has put His approval on it, you know, you can do it. You might need more time. Persons are different. You know, personalities are different. You know, but I just want to throw that out there. You know, because a lot of people these days pressures. I'm getting old. I need to marry. And, you know, all these things come down on person. But, you know that if God has someone for you, you will get the right person. And I know we talk about an equal yoke. That's a big thing, because you know, we were talking earlier before we were drinking coffee and talking, and we were talking about a particular person who does ministries, a lot of ministries, and that particular person is you know, they serve so well, and we were talking like, you know, we want the spouse. If that person should have a spouse, you know, they need to understand the purpose of how that person run, you know, the ministry that they do. You want someone that can come alongside a person like that to enhance what God is doing in their life. You know, so that's a high level of concern, you know. And someone, you're getting a spouse that, when you have such a high ministry and spiritual activities in the kingdom, you want somebody that will complement and enhance that, not someone that is selfish to tear that down, you know. So I know you got something.
Well, I think it goes right with that. Like, this would be my last thought, but you know. Sure? Yeah, no. Probably. It also depends on you and you. But, you know, getting back to communion with the Lord. Yeah. Proverbs 16:3, commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established.
Yes,
and then, so I start there, and then seek first the kingdom. Seek the kingdom, man. Yeah. Just seek the kingdom.
And Paul tells us that we need to bring our thoughts captive to Christ.
Yeah. Make it
so
obedient.
When Satan puts in those thoughts that are wrong and ill, and you know they are, but you're trying to keep them anyway. No, bottle them up, send them to Jesus. Say, listen, these thoughts are wrong. I need your help, Lord. They need to be submissive to you. And if you can get your mind to be submissive to the Lord, then your heart and everything else is going to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. You know, and children comes into play. It's an amazing factor in marriage. You know, the Bible talks about children are a gift from God and they are an heritage, you know. And those words are, you know, just priceless. You can't put a price on them. They are a gift from God, you know. And marriage is so unique. Again, like, I want to share this about marriage. You know, I've never even thought about it until right now. You know, I remember I was teaching a class in YWAM. I was teaching in the discipleship training school, and we were talking about it, that somehow the subject leads off to marriage. You know, and me and Raquel was there as the teacher, and we were sharing, and a young lady said, I don't want to get married. And I'm like, why wouldn't you want to get married? And she said, no, I just don't want to get married. And right there and then, I'm like, man, marriage is a beautiful thing. And I just felt like the Lord just download something in me, and I want to share it, you know, where marriage is concerned. I've never thought about it in my lifetime until that day, and that person is married now with kids and stuff like that. And you know, when she said that, the Lord says marriage is the only entity on earth that reflects me. You know. And then he went a little further and he says, I'm a triune God. You know, I'm three-part. I manifest as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I can be at three different places, but I'm still one. Yeah. And I'm not separated from being one God. It's not three God, it's one God. And he said, so is marriage and family. Yeah. Like right now, Chelsea is at a birthday party with her classmate. Raquel is at home, and I'm here doing the podcast. Your kids are in different places, and even though Miss Jeannie is here, you know, same thing with your family. But look at this: we are one, and we are not separated. Yeah. And we are not three, but we are one. And God said that's the only thing that model who I am, and that's why it is so valuable. Family.
That's good.
It's like that's the only thing, you know. And because you look and somebody might say, but animals, no, they are not married, they are not committed, they doesn't steal a covenant, they just reproduce and they are gone, you know. But family make a covenant.
Yeah.
And that covenant reflects who God is. And when children comes into play, it's so significant to the three parts of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, as mother, father, and child. And you can be at three different places. You could be anywhere in the world. My wife could be in Europe, I could be in Asia, my kids could be in Africa, and we are one, never separated. And when I said that to her, I'm like, I was blown away too. Like, I've never thought about it. And they were like, yeah, you know, and the class just went nuts. But I want to share that marriage is a beautiful thing. You know, we did talk earlier, a man who find a wife, find a good thing, and obtain favor with the Lord. And God is the first person that ordained marriage. He's the first person that made the man, and he's the first person that take the woman from the man and make them one. And it's like, it's so significant. Even though we might be from different background, when we got married, we still become one. It's like the rib, we fashion again. Yeah. You know, and that's just how beautiful it is. So it is a beautiful thing to be married and to have children. So I just want to throw that out there.
When I've done many marriages over the years as an ordained minister, and I remember one time they were like, "Well, we want to write our own vows." I'm like, "I don't have a problem with that," and everything else. I said, and then she goes, "And we don't want to do till death do us part." I said, "Well, then you need to get another preacher because that is the only vows that I will give to a couple is that you have to pledge till death do us part." And she said, "Well, so many people go for divorce." And I said, "Well, you don't plan for it in the marriage, though. You plan to go to the end." And
that was never an option for me.
Yeah, and so I said, "So y'all, I bless you, but I'm not your man." And she called me back later. She goes, we talked about a lot, and we realized you're right. And I'm like, well, okay, I can do it then but I do not give marriage vows that is not till death do us part. You will.
So how did it go when you married him without? I do.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that they had to say those vows to me till death do us part, and or else I was not going to marry them because that's just ridiculous. Yeah. You don't go into the marriage planning for the divorce.
No.
You know, you go into it planning this is going to be forever. So.
Yeah. And it's the turn that marriage, the principle of marriage and the purpose of marriage is taken so much out of context right now. Like, people married not even for values or for relationship. People married for just to say I have people married by signing a piece of paper to make sure that if I get out, I get this. Why are you are going into a covenant already out of a covenant.
Yeah.
It cannot last and it will not work.
Yeah, no, it can't.
You are gonna give yourself to this person, but you have already take it back before you even give it. And so many persons take that out of context and take that out of principles and the purpose of it, and it's just becoming more and more. And I truly believe that even as Christians, like I just say Christian because I can't speak for those who are not, but I just really believe that Christians should set a high standard where marriage is concerned, because I mean, we are the one that we should be able to live through a night of chaos with our spouse and hope to work it out because God is the center of it, you know, and hope that someone can see that, are knowing that our testimony, and hoping that our testimony can help someone down the road to say, hey, we were in hell, but because God was the center, we made it out, you know, and it can work. You know, I truly believe that today's marriage, even for so many celebrities and all of that stuff, you know, those people, they just went into marriage because they just feel like, you know, this type of people hold at this high regards or this high professional level, and I have to have a spouse. Yeah. You know, and so it's wrong.
I think a lot of these in Hollywood too. You know, they're even for acting parts, stuff like that. I think when you're kissing on all these other people, stuff like that, that's not helpful in your marriage.
Yeah,
you know?
And that is why a lot of those marriages doesn't even work, because it can't work because, you know, it's just wrong.
Well, I think it's time for the Jamaican word of the day. Are you ready?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
It's not that many Jamaican words.
Ayasede.
What?
You got excited?
Oh, ayasede.
Yes, there is.
Yasede?
Oh no, you all missed it.
I did.
I thought about it all day. Yes,
Okay.
I thought about it. I'm
Is
like,
it Yasede?
no. All right, this is where it's at. Kingdom Chat. Ayaso, yasede. So let me say it a little bit different in Patwa.
Yeah.
Ayaso, it is. All right, yaso. All right, yaso. Yeah, you say that in Patwa too. Ayaso it is. Yeah, but you know, yeah, ayaso it there. You all missed that.
I can't say
Yes. But it's basically, this is where it's at. Kingdom Chat.
Yeah, it is.
This is the fort. This is the place
My
to be.
mic. Sorry, Gene.
Yeah. So this is where it's at.
We need to make a kids pastor word of the day.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Can't do the second word of the day.
When I thought about it all, I'm like, man, I'm running out of words.
I know, but we're 2 years in, Mike. There's not that many Jamaican words like shit. We give them a break.
Yeah, I got you all today.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Yes,
Well,
that's
we
good.
thank y'all so much for joining us. I hope you got something out of our discussion of marriage, and I'm really thankful for my marriage. And anybody can put up with me 36 years has got to be a saint, and she's agreeing over there. So anyway, well, we thank y'all very much, and appreciate you. Please share this.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe. We want to grow this channel because we really do want to help minister to the Lord and lead people to Christ and the Christ-like living. And I think that this is a good avenue to do that. So thank y'all very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One up.